She's Belinda Waymouth, and this is It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock.
Judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet, stupid. No. It's the planet, stupid.
And here she is, without further delay, Belinda Waymouth. Belinda, hello, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Oh, totally my pleasure. And of course, with the right intro, I really hope I can deliver today.
It just lifts the segment to a different place, that's all. I'm a production guy, so I like stuff like that. But I was excited that you were going to talk about wind power because yesterday on the program, Kim and I were talking about the fact that you were coming on, and because Kim had a story in her newscast about these leases for offshore wind energy. I wonder if you could speak to it. And then I was kind of hinting at the controversy around it, so maybe you can speak to that as well.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm always, such a proponent of any kind of renewable energy and that we have to be making this shift. And that offshore wind is an incredible resource because the winds blow stronger out there, and they also blow at the time of day when we need them, the late afternoon into the evening. And, that's when people are coming home, they're putting on air conditioners, they're putting on loads of washing. And people are always talking about, with renewables, what about when the sun isn't shining and blah, blah, blah. So offshore wind has this huge potential, but it also, there are all the environmental concerns that go with it. I mean, when I was doing my environmental science degree, one of the courses that I took was California, and our move to renewables, and what were the things that stood in our way. And I remember this class, because I've, of course, I'm like, yes, we have to do it. But they were talking about all the hoops that a company had to jump through to put up a wind turbine, on terrestrial, in a terrestrial setting, so on land. And that if you were way out in the desert where this incredible wind blew, but it was also, a very sensitive ecosystem that the desert tortoise, meandered through, you would have to helicopter in the different components for that turbine because you couldn't bring them in, on a truck over land. And of course, that's right, because we don't want to, right one environmental wrong, which is, fossil fuels, with another. And that's, renewables that hurt, precious ecosystems that are already taking a battering because of, our energy needs, our resource needs. And then in the ocean, which is being completely, I don't want to use the word.
I'll use it. Destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we treat it as an open sewer, and marine life at all levels. I mean, even life that, you don't see move and go on, various migrations. All life at all levels of the ocean is being negatively impacted, and that's to be polite. It's being destroyed by what we're doing to it.
Yeah. Well, that is the word I was thinking, but yes, out of your lips rather than mine. But yeah, no. What we're doing out there is, egregious and terrible. And the thing.
So we want to avoid doing more damage, is what you're saying. So the way these are constructed is critical.
Yeah. And the fact is, look, there'll be this review. It'll take 5 to 6 years to jump through all the regulatory hoops. And can we really, secure a wind turbine in 2,500 up to 3,300 deep ocean waters? Right now the deepest floating turbines are off the shore of Norway, where ironically, guys, they are powering offshore oil rigs. But that's what they're being used for. And Norway is actually using the money that they get from their oil to fund renewable energy and social programs and stuff. But it is ironic when you read like the first offshore wind turbines, what do they power? Offshore oil drilling. But this is the deepest water ever. And so you've got these huge long cables that have to be secured on the ocean floor. And what about migratory, pathways for whales, And, I mean, there are so many factors that are going to go into it, and they are really going to work out, how can we put these in there feasibly and them not, cause, significant harm. And then there's the maintenance. There are the ships that'll have to go out. There are the cables that'll have to be, dug from the bottom, from where those floating wind turbines are secured on the ocean floor back to land, so that the energy that is, generated can be transported back to where we're going to be using it. So there are so many things that are going to go into this.
Well, this is interesting, and I'm getting this in the chat. And Randy, who is, I think he sometimes asks these healthy questions. He's not just an S disturber. He says, "Oh, for Christ's sakes, aren't the environmentalists happy with anything?" And I think you can be happy with what's happening with the embracing and the aggressive embracing of offshore wind energy. These are my thoughts, but there also be troubled by how things are getting done. You can be, this applies to all energy and all kinds of development. If I said to you, hey, it's great. There's a new, I don't know, Whole Foods, grocery store, low cost food, healthy food place going up, and it's just going to be 4 blocks from your house. So that's terrific. Yeah, they're in such a hurry because it's a food desert that they've waived a lot of the environmentalist kinds of considerations and all of those environmental impact studies, and they're just going to put the thing up. You go, whoa, wait a minute. That's not good. Yeah, and I think those same considerations are being applied here.
Yes, and the thing is, Randy, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it is a valid point. But the thing is, we do have to take all the stuff into account, because the fact is, we live in a tapestry. The ecosystems and the environment, the biosphere. I mean, we rely on all of it, from the atmosphere to the deepest depths of the ocean. And you pull one thread out and, or a couple of threads, and you could, damage the integrity of that tapestry, I hope that's a good enough analogy, but you know what I mean? And I'm alluding to, the incredible environmentalist John Muir, because he, talked about that, you pull at one thread. And so we have to see this, we have to keep the cohesion of our natural environment. And the thing is with human beings is, we're the sort of this uber species that are coming in and just, using everything, that we want and see, and there's a thing called the carrying capacity and the carrying capacity of an environment. So if you put a bacteria into a petri dish of food, they will eat and eat and eat that food and reproduce until their population is so big. Oh, the next minute there's not enough food and the whole population collapses. And they have surpassed what's called the carrying capacity of that ecosystem that they were living in. And we have to be super careful that we don't, overreach, ourselves and blow through the carrying capacity of this planet, which is a finite planet of resources, in our quest for, progress, and just, basic living. And we're really on the sort of precipice right now, because, the other thing, and maybe we'll have to talk about this next week, but, the way we shop and consume all other goods, from, clothing and furniture and all these things, and how there's this suddenly, we're sort of realizing like, hey, it's not sustainable the way we, that 80% of the furniture that's sold in the States ends up in landfills. I mean, that's, crazy. And frugality, and I know I've said this on the show before, but, I mean, we look at that now as, sort of, oh, if you're frugal, you're cheap. But, frugality actually means the wise use of resources. And so we have to be wise in how we use all those resources. And with offshore wind is this incredible resource for, meeting our electricity needs. We have to access it in a way that doesn't do, too much environmental damage, because we've already done too much environmental damage.
Well, I mean, and when you say too much, it really has been too much. Frugality is a ding word, but there's another ding word and I missed it. Somebody can tell me what it was. But you're right. I mean, we're really past our expiration date at this pace. And even as you suggested, and it's kind of always asked, well, okay, let's get this stuff powered up as quickly as possible. In this case, literally powered up. The offshore wind leasing has been granted. You talk about a 5 to 6 year process to work this out. Some of the things that you've referenced, like the speed at which boats will be able to, I mean, these are big boats carrying, equipment and maintaining these things as well as building them. The speeds at which those boats will be able to go out, that'll have to be strictly enforced, and it'll have to be established. So, because these are migration routes for a lot of animals, and you can do a lot of damage. And if history's a guide, we will do a lot of damage. So, both excited but cautiously optimistic. And you can say, "Oh, you environmentalists, you're never happy." Yeah, we're not, because we've trashed this environment, and it's time to try to power up stuff again, or ramp up stuff, maybe to use a different parallel, without being reckless about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I get people saying to me, oh, electric cars, lithium batteries, those are terrible. And, yes, the mining of lithium, if you saw the pictures of what, these sort of fields, in Chile, where all the sort of the waste from the lithium is, it's not looking good. But the companies that are doing it and that are, thinking about the future and how electric cars are the future are going, yes, we have to work, we can't replace one evil with another evil. If we're going to have electric vehicles, we have to mine lithium in a way that doesn't do the same kind of damage that oil has, to the
sure.
planet.
And here's the deal. And I'm getting this in the chat now. And I'll just put Randy up again. If you make this difficult enough to put these windmills in place, we'll never get there, wherever there is. And then somebody else, Bill Lundgren says, I agree with Randy, and that need a realistic accounting of how we will transition to renewable energy. Exactly. Okay. I don't disagree. We don't disagree, I think, on this. I'm sorry just to weigh in on this, but I do feel strongly about it. But there's a cost benefit on everything. Did you get a realistic accounting, or did you feel as though the environmental impact of various oil drilling that's going on or fracking that's going on nationwide? Don't have to go nationwide, right here in California. Did you feel like you were satisfied with the details you saw on that? I don't think you were, because there is tremendous pollution and groundwater threatened by these very systems. Those are fossil fuels. That's traditional energy. So we've certainly have a history of rushing stuff into place. And because of, frankly, buying legislators and, flooding the system with money, they've been able to get away with it. There has to be some degree of care associated with this, even as it is fast-tracked. We're all wanting to make it fast-tracked. Sorry to dominate. Go ahead, Belinda.
No, I totally agree with you, Mark. I think it's true. And I think our listeners are saying the same thing, is that, we have to make the transition, it has to make sense. That's the thing, is that it has to make ecological sense, because what we're at an ecological deficit. We've done this damage. We want to right a wrong. And so we have to do that mindfully, because we have not been mindful, as far as, fossil fuels go. And so that's really, what it's about right now. I mean, one of the things I've talked about on the show before, and it makes me so, it doesn't make my blood boil. I wouldn't go that far. But, this thing about solar panels, and if we just put solar panels on every available roof that we already have with the existing buildings in the world, that would be 11% of our electricity needs met right there. Now, who are we fighting? Utility companies, because they don't want to give up their profits. And the fact is, this sort of profit, as this this perpetual growth and this, corporations, that their only, raison d'etre is, that they make their stakeholders, the biggest profit they possibly can. That is not good for the planet. And, so common sense things, because I'm always about the low hanging fruit. These roofs already exist. Put solar panels on them, work out a way with the negotiate with the utilities that they can make it make sense to them, because that's a no-brainer, rather than going out and, to the desert and putting in, a huge new, solar plant. I mean, obviously we have to do that too, because we do have these, the question is, when people, are saying in the chat, yes, we love cheap gas and it has to be that. Do you want your grandchildren to have a livable planet? I mean, that's what it boils down to. This is about our kids and our grandchildren at this stage. It really, truly is.
You also get this kind of reaction. I just want to address it quickly. This is from Al Anonymous. Obviously, somebody didn't want to give their name. There's toxins in the air, in our water, in the earth. What's the point anymore? Our kids will and are being polluted. You're right. The point is, that doesn't mean that you should continue to pollute. I mean, it's like, I don't even, that seems absurd on its face. You can't be serious. Because we were polluting, it doesn't matter anymore, so we should continue to just, hey, go ahead, dump it anywhere. The water supply is already toxified. I mean, you can't be serious. And that comment is so outside the bounds of seriousness. I'm sorry, Al, knowing it's not your real name. Not cool. Come on, man. That's just absurd.
We can't give up. We can't give up at this point because, I mean, I think we're in a really uncomfortable moment because we have all this knowledge now of how much damage we've done and what a crazy position we've put ourselves in, that we are that bacteria, in the petri dish, sort of racing towards, the carrying capacity of the planet. But now we know. And so now we're trying to apply the brakes and reverse course. And, when an ocean liner is out in the ocean and it's going in one direction, it doesn't do a 180 quickly. It takes a lot, it takes a huge amount of effort. And so that's where we are right now. We're trying to make that 180 with the energy, that we use, with the way we use resources, with making ourselves more right-sized, on a finite planet. And, the optimist in me, believes we can do it. I mean, I've got a kid. I absolutely want to believe that we can do it. The pragmatist in me, and the realist, I despair sometimes, but I do. Yeah. Was that you, Kim?
It was me. Yeah. I'm just thinking about what you're talking about as a mom and how when when looking at kid, you can't ever, to what Al Anonymous was saying, eliminate the fact that they're going to be breathing in grossness, that they're going to be eating stuff that has plastic in it. You can't eliminate it, but you can try to make a dent in it, right? You can try to do better. If you know better, do better.
I'm going to just use a really gross, eerie, creepy parallel. I know that the place I sent my kids, they busted a teacher there for sexual assault on one of the kids. We talked about it. It seems like they didn't take it seriously enough, and there more and more sexual predators are working as staff there at this school. But you know what? There are sexual predators everywhere. They're all over the place. Not going to worry about it. It's going to send the kid off to school, and good luck. Really, would you be okay with that? No, of course not.
They've got a great math program.
Exactly. It's absolutely absurd on its face. The idea that you should do nothing. Sorry, Al. It doesn't. I get it. We talk about desal, we talk about solar farms, we talk about recycling dirty water. These are all things that have to be done. We may be dying as a species, and we, in the process, be killing off a lot of other species, but there is a long way between dying and dead, and you ought to make that the longest way you can, and that's why we talk about these things. So I agree. It's a multi-pronged effort. But sorry, Belinda. It's a go ahead.
Don't you think? And I made this question to Belinda that. And your perspective, do you see children having kind of more ownership over a healthy environment than their parents? Because I've noticed my children, they take steps that are more environmental, and they get me thinking about things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I talked about this once on the show. Millennials, they want to buy secondhand clothes because they know how the clothing industry is so polluting, has this huge carbon footprint, and just the proliferation that I'm seeing of secondhand stores open up on Main Street in Santa Monica, where I live, and it's full of Gen Zs and millennials. That's how they shop. They really get it. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today, but we're going to run out of time, is in Europe, there are the growth in secondhand sales of furniture, because furniture, like I said, 80% of furniture sold in the US ends up in the landfill. It's outrageous. But there's this huge growth in secondhand furniture sales in Europe. In Berlin, the municipal waste agency now has opened this, it's a mall, what's the name of it? Notch Mall, I don't know how that you pronounce it. They sell furniture that has been discarded, left on the street. So there's this huge awareness happening that we cannot live this linear economic model that goes from this highly extractive, you extract the resources, you manufacture them into products, you sell them to the consumer uses them, and when they're done, they trash them. And sorry, planet, that's it. We have to have a circular economy where we are reusing things, we manufacture things that absolutely are going to be recyclable and reusable. I mean, Sweden came up with this idea to give tax credits to people who, newsflash, guys, who repair things. People don't repair things anymore. So in Sweden, when you take your toaster or your shoes in to be repaired, you instantly get a tax credit, because of course you should be doing that. Do you know that if you launder new clothes, like you buy a t-shirt, if you launder it carefully rather than just throwing it on a high cycle, throwing it in the dryer, you can extend its life from a mere 2 years to 3 years just by the way you launder your clothing. And I think that our kids and the generations coming, they know this stuff. It's being built into their DNA, and they just shop in a different way. My kid, her whole wardrobe practically is secondhand. And I brought her up going to a clothing swap. And mothers used to say to me, wow, your kid has really cool clothes. Because I would go to the clothing swap, get stuff that was in an extra small size, come home. I have a sewing machine. I used to be quite a good sewer. I'm not anymore. All I can do is take in stuff. So I would take in, these things, make them fit my kid. And she would be, so she's been wearing secondhand clothes her whole life. And that's, her thing now, as it is with her friends. So, yeah, that's a really long-winded answer, Kim. But
no, that's really right to it. Guys, I'm sorry. I got to wrap up. It's thank you so much,
I'm
Belinda.
Still talking to Belinda.
Really, you can handle this offline. I've got so much to say to many of you who contributed in the chat. I give you all credit, even... I don't know what that was. Okay, let me just... all right.
Is the planet stupid?
Thank you, Belinda.
No, it's the planet stupid.
Next time, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you, Belinda. Very, very cool.